China. It is one of the four most ancient civilizations alongside India, Babylon and Egypt.
It possesses a vast and varied geographic expanses, around 3,600 years of written history, as well as rich and profound culture, tourism, marketing, technology.
Chinese people are also very humble and polite. But the Chinese government is exactly the opposite of it. They don't care about anyone, not even about their countrymen. What they only care about is power.
Recently, a worldwide protest is going on, and the main motto is to boycott China. So in this video, let's focus how much is the power is in the hands of China and how we can boycott China.
China is the world's factory, which made them the global powerhouse. The global output value of China in 1990 was only 3%, which increased to 25% in 2018. World's 78% of ACs, 58% of shoes, 74% of solar panel, 45% of shipbuildings are made in China. If we consider food products, 50% of the world's apple production are from China.
Chinese products are almost everywhere in everyone's house. So if China slows down, the businesses all over the world will collapse. If we consider tourism, Chinese spent $277 billion traveling overseas in 2018, which is around 1/5 of total spending abroad.
China invests a huge amount of money on projects all over the world, building railway in Kenya, bridges in Croatia, roads in Pakistan. But the problem is, this country may not pay back to China, and then will come China's debt diplomacy. The only reason of their investment is to spread the political power, and for that they are taking economy as the ultimate weapon.
There are thousands of cases where it will show you that how much world economy is dependent on China. Just Google it. Now let's see how much India is dependent on China.
Number 1, the trade deficit. There has been a huge trade deficit of India with China. As you can see in the chart, there has been a trade deficit of approx 40% constantly from 2014. In 2019, India's export to China is $16.32 billion and India's import from China is $68 billion. This difference is huge and increasing.
Number 2. Smartphone market. If we consider smartphone marketing, top 5 smartphone brands are highly demandable, such as Oppo, Vivo, Xiaomi, Realme and OnePlus, from which Xiaomi is one of the most selling smartphone brand in India. As you can see in 2019, Xiaomi occupies approx 30% of India's smartphone shipment market share, not only in case of smartphones, but in case of television also. Xiaomi excel in the same year like this. So you can see the whole electronic market in India is highly dependent on China.
Number 3. Investments in startups. China is one of the most active investors in Indian startups. Apps like Zomato, Swiggy, Paytm, Byju's have a huge Chinese investment. In 2019, the investments of China in Indian startups is almost 29,000 crore. Tencent and Alibaba Group have a lot of investments in Indian startups, as you can see in the chart. In this way, the startups are also dependent on China.
Besides these 3 major dependency, there are many more. In 2019, India imported solar cells and modules of worth $1.1 billion.
Pharma imports from China. In 2018-19, China occupies 67% of the total pharma imports in India, which gives them a huge profit.
These are the facts which shows the Chinese dominance over Indian market. And when it comes to boycotting, it will not be an easy task. Now let's discuss how to boycott Chinese product. Boycott doesn't mean that we have to destroy the Chinese products. This is not the solution.
What we have to do is to find an alternative to those Chinese products. The first step we can take is to uninstall all the Chinese apps from our mobile phones. There are a lot of Chinese apps that we are using daily, and they also have a good rating in Play Store. Here is some of the top Chinese apps that we are using.
this is our first step to boycott China. To the most trending game nowadays, PUBG Mobile, is Chinese or not?
PUBG is a South Korean game under Bluehole company, but Tencent is a Chinese company. Any kind of purchase from this app will go to the Chinese company Tencent. So please try to avoid any kind of purchase from this app, and the same goes for Free Fire.
As we have mentioned earlier that many app has Chinese investment.
So we have to avoid those apps which have more than 40% Chinese investment like Paytm.
And if we consider smartphone market in India, it filled with Chinese brands like Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, Realme and OnePlus. So we have to find substitute of this brand.
We can use Apple, Samsung, Asus, HTC, Lava and other non-Chinese brands. Now many of you can tell that these phones have Chinese parts. We want to keep it clear to you that there are some basic levels. Number 1, Chinese companies. Number 2, made in China products. Number 3, Chinese parts. Number 4, Chinese investment.
Now when you are going to buy a product, first study the detail about it. If the product is made in China or have Chinese part, there is no problem in using it. But if that product have Chinese investment of more than 40%, then try to avoid it.
If the product you are buying is under any Chinese brands or company, then avoid it. Find some other alternatives.
To boycott China, we need to support the Indian government. Indian government should support and invest in the Indian companies and startups so that they do not need any kind of Chinese investment and funds.
The government should improve foreign relations and also should improve the trade with other countries, especially our neighboring countries like Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Myanmar. Recently, Indian government banned 59 Chinese apps, which is definitely a good initiative in boycotting China.
And what we can do is to advertise Indian companies and support them.
And to encourage people to boycott Chinese products. Like we can do music videos or documentary or just put some labels outside shops like no Chinese products.
Boycott China doesn't mean to break all the Chinese product and appliances in our home. Use it as long as possible. Also, you do not need to avoid Chinese food because Chinese food available in India are made by Indian chefs. Some of these Chinese dishes are available here, not even in China.
But from the next time when we are buying something, we should avoid Chinese products and use Indian products or non-Chinese products.
Support the Indian companies and help them to grow. And that's the only way the Indian can boycott China and slowly remove its influence from Indian market.
Support your own nation. Help it to grow. Together we can do it.
Jai Hind.